All right. We got a nice action-packed series here from, of course, the World Championship, Katowice. It was Group A, I believe, and we had Dark down here in the bottom right side of Gresvin, kicking off his matchup against Clem. Dark, one of the favorites to win the entire group. Clem, a player who usually is known as the King of Europe recently. He's very good at beating Cyril, Raynor, Showtime, Max Pax, Hero Marine, but does struggle with a bunch of Korean players. Usually the best Korean Protosses, like Hero, Zhao, and a few of the other guys, but Dark especially is the one Korean Zerg that paved the road for all Zergs to understand how to beat Clem. And that is backstabs into very surprising backstabs, into never fighting where Clem wants to fight, into Clem just being frustrated and constantly surprised. It feels like Dark will play very solid versus him, and then in the one game where Clem's not expecting it, there'll be like a Nidus pop in the main. You'll kill him with like a Nidus Queen Roach All In or something crazy like that. Dark seems to have Clem's number historically. It's about a 65 or 70% win rate in favor of Dark. It's not dominating. Not like, for those who don't know, Special versus Solar going into Katowice. So that was a one-sided win rate between the two of them. Solar is the anti-special Terran player. And I mean, not just special as a player, but any Terran that does special builds like Gumiho. I think it's like a 94% win rate or something versus special. Insane win rate versus Gumiho as well. But back to this match. Dark, very good at dissecting Clem and not letting him get the momentum going. On the other hand, I do feel like Clem regularly has found a way to stop those attacks. The problem he does sometimes run into is that in the late game, Dark is also very, very calm, collected. And it often feels like they'll be dueling and Clem feels like he's winning, but very slow winning. And Clem has always lacked the patience of Maru. A few other players we've seen recently show very good methodical spreading out the units, the defenses, not using the select all army key. If there was one thing I would describe Clem as, that he doesn't get described as much, and I probably should more, he is a select all army addict. This young man may be one of the fastest players in the world, but he trips over his own feet a little bit by spamming that select all army key in the late game a little bit much. So his micro is really, really good when he's in control, but you got to be really careful of the fact that in the late game, he often gets out of position, and Dark is a master of pulling you down to one side of the map and then ruining your production. We've seen him be way behind against Clem. I remember on Data C one game, and then Clem got way too exposed on one side of the map, and Dark just ran in, killed his entire main base, and then won the game. Third CC, back at home for Clem. Very standard opening. Pulls that mule off, because otherwise it will mine its last trip and die before it returns it. So Clem essentially saves 25 minerals on that base. Very, very advanced maneuver. Not worth bothering for any normie at home. I once saw a diamond player pull the mule off before it ran out, and he pulled it off like 15 seconds too early and missed 2 full mining trips. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I was like, this truly is, you know, it's like watching an overweight person trying to do one of those gymnastic triple backflip things, and they like kind of just fall over, and you're like, know your limitations. I've never pulled a mule off even once, and I will never even try to. I'm like, I've got more important things for my spore brain to focus on, okay? Clem, though, very quick. Roach Warren on the way for Dark, interesting, but there's a Banshee on the way for Clem, which is very important because Dark loves to do Roach Shove. This is a no Ling Speed build, and it's only 4 going up to 5 queens. There is Cloak on the way for Clem. So, you know what? I really feel like it's going to be one of these roach pushes. If Dark goes for the full 9 roaches, then it's going to be quite good for Clem. If it's just 5 or 6 roaches, that's a bit better for Dark. He needs a few to defend the Hellions. Let's keep an eye on that production tab. First 3 roaches powering up. He's going at least 7 roaches, so it looks like he's at least going to feint across the map. That will scare Clem a little, but with such an early Banshee out, he should be able to stop it. And Dark would be wise if his Overlord spots that Banshee to just pull back and get out of there. Because otherwise the Hellions could dart around and start picking off workers. Slow Zerglings will not do a lot to stop that. Does Clem see the roaches? Nope. And look at this. Look at this way, guys. Dark has pulled every queen to the front. He only has 5 queens, but they're all at the front. He's like, look, I'm on 9 queens. There's like 3 or 4 injecting, and these are just my other queens. And it's like, no, he's missing injects right now. So this is something a lot of people don't realize. Dark doesn't take direct damage from harassment, almost ever. But he skips so many injects whenever you're poking around that he actually hurts his own economy pretty drastically just by you having a presence on his side of the map. Now, a few roaches have snuck around the south side. It's a 4-roach run by. The Reaper gets in the main, gets a drone. Clem, can he get a second drone? No, nice drone surround. Oh, actually, he got 2 drones, apparently. The Banshee, I guess, picked one off as well, right? Yes, it did. These 4 roaches, what are they waiting for? They could go in, but I guess there's a second Banshee coming out. Dark sees it. Dark could send that in right now. Those roaches could actually do some pretty big damage. This is super cute play. Hyperflight Rotors is on the way. Clem's going to play Battle Mech. This is a little predictable. I think Dark anticipated this because he's done it already in a TVZ series in this tournament on this map. So definitely something to keep in mind is that Clem sometimes gets a little predictable. He thinks this map's really good for Battle Mech. That's why he's going for it. Hellions dart in, Hellions dart out. 2 of them do go down. The roaches are going to show themselves. Dark does not have roach speed. They're not the fastest roaches in the world, but they could really cause a nuisance for themselves. Looks like 2 drones did go down, maybe to some Banshees. Those Banshees are going to back off there, sending the whole army home. There's only 1 Marine there for damage. This is a terrible fight for Clem. Oh no, he's going to lose a lot of SCVs. I think he should have just ran those workers away, let the Hellions and the Banshee come back to clean it up. Not only did that kill 10 SCVs for 4 roaches, it also pulled all of those units home. Now Dark a little bit too far forward with those roaches, playing a little sloppily. He's always been a fast and loose player, has Dark. And I was saying leading into this tournament, there's a big question mark on his skill level. Is he going to show up? Because in recent tournaments, yes, he's been making it to a lot of semis and finals of online cups, but he's looked sloppy as all hell while doing it. He's looked very uninspired on the new patch, hasn't really done too much special, adaptations to the new changes and new maps, especially in ZvP. ZvT, I think he looked a little bit better, but there's still a question mark of like, hey, was he just hiding builds? Or is he actually just looking a little bit standard, a little bit uninspired in his play? We're going to find out in this series, that's for sure. Clem running forward with Hellions, roasting some Zerglings. The Overlord does get locked on. Let's take a fair bit of damage. We've got +1 range, roach speed, Overlord speed on the way as well. Now going Pathogen Glands. He's going to play Infestors to catch the Battle Mech, and I've been wanting to see more Infestors versus this, because they can catch the Banshees, but they can also catch the Cyclones, so they serve a dual purpose. They're obviously not going to shut everything down all game, but having just a few Infestors is especially useful. He's even going to go Burrow with it and Pathogen Glands, which means probably going to commit to at least 5 or 6 Infestors. Behind this, Clem has 5 Barracks. He's been doing a decent job of just keeping the territory control to a minimum for Dark, clearing up all the creep. Oh, he's got to be careful though. Clem not watching. Loses 1, loses 2 Cyclones. Oh my god, Dark with the focus fire even gets a 3rd one. Clem, big mistake there, losing 3 of those. Big mistake, but the Banshees come in and they will punish these roaches at least a little bit. A bunch of those roaches do fall. Yet another lock-on there. Does pick off so many of those roaches. 8 roaches for 3 Cyclones, though still a good trade for Dark. Dark's happy to just hang on and survive until he gets those Infestors out. His Pathogen Glands is almost done. He hasn't started the Infestors. A little sloppy on that. Those are very important to stabilize. Finally, 4 Infestors starting. Just for knowledge, guys, you can start the Infestors as long as they pop out after Pathogen Glands is done. They will get the upgrade. So you just need to start them once the upgrade's about 30% complete, and they will finish with the extra 25 energy. So about 30 seconds late on these Infestors is Dark, but once they get out, they could turn the battle around. Clem's follow-up, 3 more factories and a 4th command center. I've got to say, for a Battle Mech style, Clem is expanding rather slowly. Battle Mech is all about covering the map in your bases, getting an economic advantage, and swarming over the Zerg. But in this scenario, Clem is actually down 20 workers. For those who don't know, Dark actually lost a game to Jason's Battle Mech in a weekly cup the week before this tournament. Sounds kind of crazy. Jason is a streamer. He's not really a pro gamer, but he's very talented with Battle Mech and experience with it. And he was mass expanding like crazy, and Dark couldn't keep up. In this scenario, that's a good hatchery snipe. Oh, he doesn't see the Infestor though. Burrowed Infestor's coming forwards. You gotta watch out. Oh, Fungal gets all 5 Banshees. They do one-shot 2 of the Infestors, but another Fungal on the left side as well. 1, 2, 3 of these Banshees go down. Make it number 4. And can he get at least 1 more Banshee to punish the Zerg for that? Cyclones have to get out of there. Nice lock-ons. Good preemptive scan. Oh, it's a lot of Roaches going down. Remember, Magfield does not do the extra damage to Roaches anymore, but it's very much better versus Queens, Ravages, and Mutalisks. More Infestors and Roaches coming in. I like that he's splitting some units off and he's skirting around the sensor tower. Doesn't want to give away what he's up to. and he's going to try and burrow in. There is a turret at that third base and at that natural. Clem, well prepared. Dark is one of the best tunneling core players in the game. One of the few players who always looks for an opportunity to use it. Roaches on the south side hitting these SCVs. Burrow Roaches getting in the base as well. Looks like Dark's going to try to run those bad boys away while burrowing a Roach down on the south to block the command center from landing. And you can see the way he's trying to always surprise Clem, jump on those Cyclones, and shut them down. Clem, though, will get his fourth base established, but it's almost 10 minutes, and he still doesn't have a fifth command center. He's got good production, but he's got no armory upgrades, which means he can't really transition into regular mech units. He has to stay kind of Cyclone Banshee focused, and he doesn't have a fifth command center. So I feel like Dark has gotten through the scariest point of this game. He loses those Roaches, and you go, oh, bad units lost tab. It's totally fine because he's got Infestors now gathering energy. He's got Vipers will be coming out once the Hive is done. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, the ambush! The ambush could be huge! Dark unburrows on top, and he's going to take out like 5 Cyclones. Oh my lord, Dark is such a tricky bastard. The Banshees do punish that a little bit, but so many of them already died, and the Fungal Hydra takes out 2 of those Banshees. Make it 3. Wow, what a bloody, absolutely awesome way to play it. Now, I really do feel like Clem in this scenario, he's just not got an answer to the Infestors, right? His whole thing is mobility and constantly being in the face of the Zerg. But you know what? Being in the face of the Zerg is just always gives an opportunity for Infestors to fungal you. Infestors is such a good way to scare the Terran back. And now he's got to swap into tanks and ghosts, which, don't get me wrong, Ghost Mech is the best late game. I think it's really, really powerful, but he's not there yet. He's only just started building tanks. He's only got 1 ghost building at a time. I think he built a second barracks. There it is. Sorry for the scrolly scrolls, guys. So he's going to go 2 barracks ghosts, but he's also got no armory upgrades, no engineering bay upgrades. And I think you can see the lack of experience maybe that Clem has with this style, where he's bringing it out because it seems strong, but he has classically always been a bio player. And I think some of the guys like maybe Gabe or Special, who are more experienced with this style, would have those upgrades coming up a bit quicker. The armory finally does go down. Nice lock on. We'll clean those bad boys up. Roaches, Lings, Hydras on the north. And it looks like a Lurker Den and 2 more Evos come up. But these are energy Evos. Oh, don't kill your upgrades, mate. He's got these. These are basically what we call energy banks, these Evo chambers. It's the most hit points you can get per mineral cost for a structure, and that means your Vipers can just keep sucking energy off those. You just got to make sure you don't suck any more energy off these ones you've already been sucking on. Be careful, mate. I should really give that another term, but for so long I've been calling it sucking the energy off the structure, which is literally what it is. And people are always, oh, what are you saying, pig? Ah, calm down, guys. Get your minds out of the gutter. Armory's going to be finishing up there in the main. Upgrade advantage for Dark right now. He's just going to YOLO it. That's a crazy attack, man. It's a crazy attack for Dark. Yeah. Dark there going for what we call the drunken headbutt tactic. Reminds me of that guy I ran into as a teenager. We were out at night having a bit of a drinky drink, walking down the street, and there was a man at a bus stop, and he was headbutting the side of the bus stop that they put the big advertising billboard in. And yeah, had a nice conversation with him. He said, I just got out of prison, and started telling us about his life. It was a good time. Whenever I see a Zerg grab their whole army and run single file up a choke point, I always think of that man. I don't know what your name was. Forgot. If you're ever out there listening to this, mate, you've left a lasting influence on my life. You will not be forgotten. Stranger headbutting a bus stop. Roaches are going to try and sacrifice themselves so we can get rid of them. Hydras do have both upgrades, and they're getting Carapace added in as well. Hellions are getting blocked. Clem's not really finding a way in. So now we're going to get to see how good is Clem's late game. I've told you guys Clem is not very good at playing the patient game usually, but hey, if you're playing, this is your end game transition. Battle Mech gets you ahead, gets you into the late game, and then you go Mass Command Center. Then that's pretty good. The problem is he doesn't really have that many orbitals. He's just hit 5 orbital command centers, has Clem as those 2 finished up. Oh, 5 is a big problem for him unless he can land those EMPs. Oh, those ghosts are a little trapped and his tanks aren't siege. Oh my god, 1 fungal ruins this army. Also, the roaches could even come from the left and sandwich it if he wants to. Looks like he's going to go after the planetary, maybe unburrow, snipe the turret down. Would be a decent way of doing it. I don't think he can really kill the planetary itself. Should be mass repairable. But could focus the SCVs down if he wants to. Ducks are going to come in while Clem's distracted. Oh, Clem got distracted there. He does snipe a few of those overseers down, but he loses a bunch of tank cyclones. Going to take out a few of these roaches. They'll see if they can get rid of 1 or 2 of the cyclones on the way out. But no, they cannot. Just damaging them, not actually confirming the kills. Now, I think as Clem, you don't mind losing cyclones because you can trade those out for a tank ghost. The Problem is he's heavy on tanks, and we've got double Spire, Broodlord transition. Oh, that's great. He's already got 5 Infestors, and if your opponent's heavy on Siege Tank Ghost, Broodlord smash that army, but he's also going to throw in the Hydra Bane in the now, see if he can get some damage. I don't know if this is a good fight. The 3 tanks on the north do get caught out. Fungal doesn't really catch that much. Looks like a pretty decent fight for Clem, but oh god, the Ghosts are a bit stuck. Another Fungal whiffs there. Doesn't seem to have that many Siege tanks, and at the end of the day, funnily enough, he didn't even need the Broodlords. He clears the tank count out without it. Where are the Hellions? Where are the Widow Mines? And there's only 2 tanks that finally siege up behind this. A few snipes do go down, popping some of those Banelings on the retreat, but I like the way Dark has dual spellcasters, and he's always threatening the Fungal. If you chase too far, if you're not looking, he will punish. He's also got amazing creep on the north. He just built 13 Overlords at max supply, guys. Dark, I don't know if he's playing the best StarCraft. He's at 200 supply, and he built 13 Overlords. 200 supply, 13 Overlords. That's not even in a laser of Overlords. A laser will be at like 170 and he'll build 6 or 7 Overlords. And you're like, oh, that's kind of too many, man. Dark just was at out of 200 and he built 13 Overlords. I know I'm just repeating myself like a broken record, but I can't even fathom what he was trying to do there. He has 26 Overlords. What the hell is he doing? Huge mistake for Dark, but might not cost him. He had a lot of bank. He just wasted 1,300 minerals, essentially. It is what it is. I mean, at least it means whenever Overseers die, he won't have to replace them. He's going to make 5 Dropper-Lords in the north. Okay, so he's actually making 6 Dropper-Lords and 3 Overseers. So he's actually planning to actually use these Overlords for stuff. What's he going to drop? Just Lings? Man, we saw Reyna using Ling drops in the main in this tournament. We've seen a lot of people. We saw DRG. For those who don't know, TLO, back when he was still playing as a pro 4 or 5 years ago, invented this move. He invented doing Ling drops in the main in the late game of ZvT in Muta versus Roach, and he would do it every game to great effect. And in this tournament, we've seen a lot of players starting to mix this in their late game. It's such a cheap tool. It's so cheap. Normally, you don't even need to build new Overlords because they usually don't die. Dark is going to use it. Clem is not ready for it. Remember, Clem likes to F2 his army. His whole army is very clumped here. The Broodlord starting to engage. One snipe goes down, but the tanks are doing friendly fire. He doesn't have enough Hellbats in here. There's also no +3 attack, which means he can't one-shot the Zerglings. Now the Ling drop gets in the main. That's going to cause a big distraction. A lot of these tanks are going to start to fall. Clem needs Thors. He needs something that can just do raw firepower against these Broodlords and punish them each time they come forward. He's got Thors popping out at home. The Ling's actually doing all right versus those. Needs to swap those to high-impact payload so that they do better in that scenario. Clem, these tanks are not good versus the Broodlords. He can hold back the Hydra Baneling, but the moment they unsiege, the Hydra Baneling can just go for it. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Dark knows his business. Broodlords break the siege line. The Hydra Bane is going to roll in to capitalize. Infestors and Vipers behind it. Blinding Clouds and Fungal could be absolutely massive. And that's exactly what he goes for. And Clem, get out of there. Get out of the choke point, bro. He's headbutting into a choke point. Is Clem. Loses a command center. 20 SCVs. A lot of ghost tanks and Thors go down. I'd love to see Dark unburrow those Zerglings in the main to add insult to injury. He's got those Lings still there. The Broodlords are getting sniped on the way home, but he's actually picking off a fair few units that are trying to pursue him. There's no Fungal left, unfortunately, for Dark, so Clem does get his first bit of revenge in a while. A few of those Broodlords go down, but Dark turning around will take out a siege tank or so here. A few Lings come in as well. The Zerglings unburrowing in the main. They take out some refineries that aren't the most important thing, but he's causing chaos. And remember, Clem may have 7 orbitals, but he doesn't have that same infrastructure spread that we've seen from some of the other Terrans like Maru. 13 Hydras. It's just going to be Hydra, Ling, Bane, and mostly Hydra Bane, in fact. 50 Banelings. Oh my god, tanks in the open. Tanks in the open. The Lings are going to find those and get easy pickings there. Oh, he's just going to roll into this. A crazy move for Dark, but I think he's finding Clem at a moment where he doesn't have enough Hellions, Widow Mines, or anything like that. The Thors are going down to Banelings. Dark showing his most disgustingly inefficient fight, but I think any trade might be an okay trade. It was kind of nasty the way he took that fight, but he's chucking a Ragnarok right now and saying, what's the counter? And you say, oh, the counter to what? And he says, Banelings. And you say, but I didn't even finish asking the question. He says, Banelings. And you're like, what did you say, Ragnarok? Banelings! And you're like, is that literally all you have running through your head when you're playing StarCraft? Ragnarok's just like eyes wide, sweat dripping down his brow, and he says, Banelings! I think Dark channeling his inner Ragnarok in that last fight. Not the cleanest one, but despite it, he is still ahead in the units lost tab, and that tells you just how good his spellcaster usage and his Broodlords have been. He's now on Mass Hydra, Viper, Infestor, with a couple of Zerglings to back it up. That is a lot more Hydras. I think he didn't control group some of them, so he didn't realize he had so many and built another round. 33 Hydras does seem like a little too much, but But you know what? If you can abduct or blinding cloud the Thors, they'll smash him. There's only one tank on the field. He's going to need more tanks to deal with this. Fest is still a threat as well. Banelings do get cancelled from morphing there. This base on the bottom, if this goes down, what's Clem got? He's got some minerals there, very healthy there, and some minerals there. This bottom base he's got to defend, but you can sell. Dark is rotating. He's trying to get over there, and Clem is just down in supply right now. Doesn't have the bank. Even a double Lurker Den coming in for Dark. Thinking about doing that one. Hydra's from the low ground. Going to abduct the siege tank. Very well done. He's got to be careful. You know how Dark never exposes his casters for long? Pokes in and then runs away. He never gives a chance for Clem to EMP. I think Clem maybe needs to start thinking about flanking with a ghost. Send a cloak ghost out, come around, land an EMP. Because essentially, the spellcasters have ruined him in this game, and he's never really been able to counter them with the ghost. When you see a player who looks unstoppable with Ghost Mech, it's because the enemy spellcasters never land any spells. They just EMP'd the whole game. In this case, tries to get a snipe. Vipers get out of there in time. Terran players in shambles watching that. Like, snipe range. Hydra Bane should pull back from here, surely. Crazy move, crazy move. He might just have barely enough Banes to get it. If he repairs that, he might be able to save it. Repair. Doesn't want to lose too many SCVs. And just enough Banelings to take it out with that +3. Little unfortunate for Clem there. Still a costly trade for Dark. And Clem has plenty of SCVs, so I don't think he minds too much. Still actually reasonably close in supply. Units lost tab. I don't know how Clem is still behind in supply. In units lost. Double fungal whiffs. Good pullback by Clem. Dark threw those from a little out of range, which is why there was a delay on those. Lurker upgrades are here as well. And we've got that big army rotating down the south side. Oh, God. Watch out, Clem. Watch out. That army is so exposed. Luckily, Dark didn't know what he was stepping into. There's really not as many tanks as you need. And I think EMPs and more tanks. Oh, man, he's building a lot more ghosts. He's got 16 ghosts. The problem is you don't want that many ghosts too tightly clumped. I really want to see Clem pre-spread. Remember what I talked about with the old F2? He F2s like mad. He really does grab his whole army together. I think he needs to be pre-spread. Against this many Banelings, you need to be pre-spread across a giant area. Otherwise, the Banelings are inevitably going to ruin you. Oh my God, Dark going for a crazy engagement here. Just shoving in blinding clouds, landing across tanks, fungals landing on some of the ghosts as well, interrupting those early snipes. The ghosts do a beautiful spread. Oh my Lord, Clem's spread was nice, but it felt like with those opening blinding clouds, the numbers and the surprise of it, Dark rolls in over it. I mean, these ghosts will get a bit of attacks as there's no overseers left, but I don't know if it matters with that command center going down. Dark has the bank to remax, remember, as well. If he brings in another overseer, Clem just lost so many units and continues to be behind in units lost against a Zerg. For reference, normally Terran has maybe 10, maybe 20,000 resources ahead at this point. Instead, he's actually down. That is really, really huge. Just shows how good Dark is with spellcasters and how this is not necessarily Clem's forte. Clem likes momentum. He's very good in the mid game. And part of me wishes that he would play a bit more Biomine multi-prong. Kind of like how Beyond has been having success with lately. Here we go. Does seem to realize that Nidus is coming up. Good spotting. Hellbats and tanks will shut that bad boy down. Doesn't have servos. No, he does have smart servos. That was a quick Hellbat morph. Clem looks like he has one remax left in him. Dark's going to go for a crazy shove. This is a huge gamble. A huge gamble. It's a lot of tanks. That is a lot of tanks, but the blinding clouds land, and the lack of EMP is always so punishing. He needs those forward quick EMPs. Oh, the snipes are big, though. Dark with a crazy move here. But there's no snipes left. There's no energy left on the ghost. And Massling on the top. Oh, no. Massling on the top. Dark just using his numbers. I mean, that was not a pretty way to finish the game, but it's a way to finish the game. And that's all Dark really needed. Lings are on the rally, and you can see down the bottom, there's nothing to answer this. Those ghosts don't have energy. Ghost Hellbat can't defend Lurkers. Lurkers are annihilating 2-3 bases at a time. Yes, the Lings are finally being held back, but not before breaching the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th base, all getting sieged at the same time. Lurkers could bust this base at any moment. Trying to come forward and engage with just Hellbat Ghost ain't going to get the business done for Clem. He doesn't have the energy, and Dark is showing. Battle Mech, mate, you better be the expert of all Battle Mech, because Battle Mech slows the pace of the game down. That gives me a chance to get out spellcasters, and in Dark's own words, I believe I am the best spellcaster user in the entire game. And he showed it there. Fantastic efficiency for Dark in a 24-minute match. Units lost tab, well in his favor. All right, guys, let's go game number 2. Clem there. Does he go back to the bio play? He was stopped in his tracks with the Battle Mech into late game Ghost Mech. It's a slower style than we normally give him credit for. I do always say Clem is not really comfortable defending. he is an attacking boy. He likes to attack, and then after attacking, he follows it up with more attacking. I've criticized him and praised him. Alternatively, I've gone between praise and criticism over the fact that he plays a lot more tanks than Widowmines these days. I do think his Widowmine play is some of the best in the game when he just gets really aggressive with it. And I do think he should mix it in a little bit more. So I'd love to see it here. He's going for what appears to be a 3cc play. You can see that SCV is waiting for 400 minerals. Reaper pulls back, getting one Zergling kill. And he goes for that third command center. So he's going to go 3cc here. Nice economic opening. Tanks are very good on this map, though, as well. I mean, we've seen some really good angles you can work with them, but definitely feel like Clem's multitasking is his special suit. Give this man a Liberator, a double drop, and a Biomine push on the front, and watch the Zerg crumble under the pressure of his multitasking is always what I feel when it comes to watching Clem play, but he moved away from it. He moved towards tank styles. He almost exclusively plays them, and as a result, is not able to leverage his multitasking so much. It's much more about technical choices on where and when to fight, build knowledge, and those things which aren't really his strong suits. Clem is much better at out-clicking his opponent than outplaying them. Clem is basically if you took an FPS player and put them in StarCraft. He clicks on heads real good, but maybe does need a little bit more of an active coach helping him pick his builds or something like that. Just add that little bit of special sauce to his play, I think. Some people are saying, you know, I don't think Clem F2's that much. I've been saying that a lot recently, and I definitely feel, maybe it's not an F2, but it's definitely, I see in the late game, his army gets all pulled together a fair bit. So I'll keep my eye out on it and see if this one gets to late game. Does he just grab his whole army together? I mean, maybe he goes F2 and then control 1, but essentially it's the same thing. Stim and Viking. Okay, nice economic way of playing. He's not playing with any fear at all of Dark just shoving him with roaches because he doesn't really have any defense against that, right? It's just 4 Hellions into a Viking, into Stim, into 3 racks. A big roach shove could punish him. On the other hand, he does get very early 3 racks, so he will be able to get up a lot of Marines with Stim very early. Dark's had a solid opening. He's back on gas only now. Dark probably should be taking a second gas if he's doing that modern build. Oh god, he's already thinking about a 4th. Dark is going to play very greedy this game. Oh my god, so greedy. I love it. I really like it as well because the thing is, did Dark see the 3rd command center? He didn't, but he saw the factory pullback actually before the Viking got the kill. So I think he knows, okay, you swapped off Hellion production. You're not going to keep on going for that. It's going to be a pretty long game. And he's actually going to go Roach Warren. Wow. Okay, so Ling speed, but only 5 Lings into Roach Warren. Dark is such a flexible player. It's not the most efficient to go Ling speed into Roaches. But in this case, I think it's just a decent way of stopping Clem's pushes in their tracks. You know, Clem likes to be highly aggressive, and against roaches, usually the right call is to turtle till you're maxed out. You can drop with Marines, but you don't want to bring your tanks out of your base. And that's a big issue for Clem, who likes to just shove aggressive timings. He's the sort of player who's lost many games to running forward, sieging tanks. Roach Ravager run forward, they bile his tanks, and he's just way behind from then on out. Him and Maru have both suffered that problem. The best Terrans in the world don't like to respect Roach play, because they do feel that if they're too careful and defensive, the Roach player gets to be very greedy. On the other hand, throwing your tanks away in an ill-timed push is a very frustrating way to lose as well. Now, Clem here, he's got the 1-1 upgrades on the way. You can see that. He's also got the 4th and 5th barracks building reactors very early here. And starting depot wall at the front of the 3rd base. Behind this, 1-1 roaches for Dark coming up. His lair almost finished, and he's already at 69 workers. 6 gases. And that means that 4th base. He's even going 8 gases. What are you doing, Dark? 8 gases at this 6-minute mark? I mean, I think that tells us, right? We're going to see a few infestors, I would imagine, while teching to a fast hive for Lurker Viper. That's what I would imagine. Because that's so gas heavy, making Roach Ravager and making infestors and Vipers and Lurker tech all kind of at the same time. I think Dark is basically saying, if I just get enough gas, I can make a really high-tech army and win the fight. Hellions go for a dive. Is it going to be worth it? Not really getting the big lineups that he was looking for. It seems like 6 drones will be the total. It's okay. I mean, the Hellbats weren't going to be particularly useful in a later engagement, but I mean, against the Dark, who's still on 67 workers, he's got those 8 gases saturated. I expect an infestation pit any moment now. Let's watch from his camera. I really feel like it makes no sense to have 8 gas unless you're going to do it. He actually just pulled off gas onto minerals. He does start the infestation pit behind this, but fascinating to see. He's making 6 overlords right now. See the way Dark's injecting, moving his army out. He's got creep all over the map. 4 Ravagers on the way, 9 more drones producing. He's going up above 80 workers. Let's get back to the other side of the map now. Clem, lots of Marine tank. He's playing very cautiously. I really feel he should be out there with his Marines poking around. There's playing conservative, keeping your tanks in your rally at home, but you should still have at least 1 or 2 medevacs worth of Marines trying to pressure the Zerg. Otherwise, you give them free creep control and dominance over the map. I definitely think Clem might be a bit overly cautious in this game. And unless he's prepared to play a very smooth, calm late game, that does put him in a very defensive stance. He's got a 4th command center, 2nd factory, both coming up. So we're going to double tank production. 2-2 upgrades are pretty well timed. Hive is already on the way for Dark. He's also going Baneling Nest, so expect him to swap back into melee and +2 carapace for his next 2 upgrades. When he remembers that army is moving out the left side, he sees it. Dark's going forwards to try to slow it with Biles. His army's really small, though. I mean, Clem, if he actually did a big shove, he might be able to kill this just because it's not that much Roach Ravager. And he's trying to build Zerglings, but they don't even have melee. Clem playing really cautious. He sees the 4th base. No gas mining there still. Dark is such a weird player. Maybe that was a conscious decision to swap into Ling Bane rather than the Lurker Viper style, because Clem's being very defensive, and that's why he pulled off gas and said, let's focus on the minerals. It's not a bad way to play. Now, he does break these rocks. Remember, guys, that these rocks can get collapsed to break rocks here, 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 and here. Got to keep an eye on that. Careful in that middle area. Now, Clem's going to take the front base. He's putting 3 bunkers. Wow, talk about paranoid, guys. Clem is really paranoid. The problem is those bunkers don't defend this front base at all, and he's already almost maxed with mass Marine tank. He's in such a safe position. The bunkers, though, speak to a mental state of paranoia. He definitely doesn't need that. If he gets bunkers and tanks out here, I'm much happier to see that. But he's got to move tanks up. He should also... hot tip, guys. These are both breakable, these rocks. You can clear those and put tanks right behind the minerals. It is the best position to defend this base with at least 2 tanks there. Clem doesn't seem to know about that. A lot of players do not know about this. He's going to sell 2 of those bunkers. I still think... Oh, now Clem's attacking. Okay, so he's maxed out. His 2-2 is almost ready. Okay, he stims his whole army. Big mistake for Clem. Bit panicky there. Unnecessary stim. He's got plenty of medevacs, so it'll be okay. But this is a good push. I mean, he could definitely potentially win the game with this, but... Oh, Vipers are out. Vipers are out. Okay, this could be a very bad push timing for Clem. If Dark can get double Blinding Cloud, max energy, and flank the tank push, you take out 4, 5, 6 tanks with Blinding Clouds, Dark could roll over you. The problem is, how do you flank the army? I think Dark should send some units around the left side, or maybe even around the far right. With a planetary there, that's going to be tough. I think the left, because you do want to sandwich this army if possible. Attacking from just one side, it can work, but you don't have much creep down here. Clem's very clumped up. He doesn't know about the Vipers, guys. He does not know about the Vipers. Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. Where are those Vipers? They're moving down the left side. Those are the Vipers right there. They're in flanking position. He's got 3 Blinding Clouds ready. He'll have a 4th one available in 10 seconds. He's moving those Vipers forward. Dark getting ready. Clem is a little clumped on his tanks. He's got a big ball of Marines. Blinding Clouds coming in right now. And that is a beautiful set of Blinding Clouds. The front 4 tanks taken out of the engagement. And that is a lovely, lovely start to the fight. The Liberator gets biled down. The tanks are being pushed back. The bio spreading backwards, but so many of the tanks got blasted, and that is a huge clearance for Dark. He also turns the Banelings around. The tank just shot his own Marine there. I don't know if that was accidentally clicking on his own Marine or what, but Clem now needs to pull back and turtle up and lick his wounds. He's got a lot of command centers coming down, so he should be able to recover from this. For some reason, a tank is marching forward, and Dark is going into Ultras. So Dark is playing a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am style. He just wants to keep on attacking. Clem is unsieging his tanks and moving forwards into an aggressive style. That is the opposite of what you should be doing in this scenario. Clem feels like he actually won that fight. He lost that fight, guys. He's down in the units lost tab, just like in the previous game. Dark is out engaging Clem masterfully, and Clem needs to put these tanks back on this high ground. He should not have them so far forward. Definitely Clem getting a little bit overly aggressive. Obviously, he's still got 1 full bunker back there. I don't know if he forgot about that or not. It's full supply that's kind of wasted because he's got planetaries going up in front of this. Planetary, no, that's an orbital, and that's a planetary on the far right. Marines on the right side will pick up. He's still being so cautious with these drops. I'd like to see those drops working their way around the back and really stressing Dark. Seems like Clem's ready to grab his whole army and move to the right side. And this is what I talked about when I said he's a bit of an F2 Terran. He likes to grab his whole army and get push, push, push all in one direction. He hasn't really left anything covering the left. He pushes too deep down this right side. Dark could bust that central planetary. Dark attacking around a corner right now, but it doesn't seem like there's enough Terran to really stop it. The tank line, the bio, does not seem to run deep enough, and the Ultras are happy to find an engagement. Massive parasitic bombs all over the medevacs, the Ravagers, and the Ultras running forward on top. Those front ones will get gunned down. A few Banelings do connect, but not in the biggest way. Liberator's going to siege up. Ravagers say, no, no, no. The Biles take that out. The medevacs are all deep in the red. Good stutter step on the Bio, and I do think Dark may be overcommitting, but he gets one more tank with the Biles, and he will take out a few units with these before pulling on backwards. The Orbital's going to fall. Is it, though? Is it? No, it looks like the Orbital does manage to survive. Biles landing in the middle of his army, though. You got to be careful here as Clem, he's eating massive, massive corrosive Biles. Clem is going to have to pull back and re-max. Luckily, he kept the base alive on the right side, but his tank count has been severely diminished. Only 2 tanks left, and problem, there's still 2 Vipers. He's got Ghost in the mix, but remember what we saw in Game 1. He needs to EMP those Vipers before they get the spells off, otherwise those Vipers are game changers. Ling burrowing down here. Very nice move for Dark. Dark taking some front and exposed hatcheries. I'd like to see him definitely do the forward transfer. It's clear that Clem's being rather turtley. But, okay, Bio moving in and out. Ultra Ling Bane Viper coming forward. He's going to go for a big push. Is Dark. Where's the rest of the army for Clem? I don't know where the rest of his units are. It feels like maybe they're still sieged over on that right side. That planetary is going to get busted. Oh, so much Bio getting busted as well. These tanks leaned into the back of the natural. It looked like the fight at the very bottom was okay for Clem, but just a bit too far back. And this is what I'm talking about. He's not protecting that planetary. He should have these cleared and have siege tanks in this scenario. Tanks so far back, not necessarily where it's at. He's going to have to keep his army centralized. He's counterattacking. What are we doing, Clem? You just lost that fight again. Clem, he's only barely ahead in the units. Last time he's going to go for a counterattack like a madman. Dark is remaxing on Ling Ultra, and Clem is handing him another fight on a platter. He needs to take the time to remax. Clem constantly counterattacking into the Zerg territory, and Dark is getting this Zerg versus Terran gift wrapped for him. In terms of those engagements, Ling Ultra is not a long-term comp. He needs the Terran to expose himself to these sort of messy engagements, and Clem is making that mistake. He keeps on attacking out there. The Liberator, the Bio, microing very well. I mean, Clem loves to just micro. He likes to dance with the opponent, but if you commit to this style of play, you're not able to do it. Those Lings on the right side ravage the worker line. They go down. Dark is smashing through Vipers. Parasitic Bomb and Queens look like they will barely take out this Liberator. Few Lings still damaging the buildings, tearing those down. Even that Assimilator going down is an issue for the Terran. 22 workers have fallen. Now, Clem really just needs to lock things down and chill, but he's once again pushing up this ramp. I think he believes this is the game-winning area of the map. He's got to be careful. If those rocks get taken down, that tank gets crushed. If Dark just attacks that rock tower, he kills the tank for free. But not doing it just yet. Got to move that tank, Clem. You do not want a siege tank here or here ever. Liberator coming down the right side. Dark's on 90 workers. He doesn't really have a follow-up play. It's just the same 2 Vipers that have been so effective. And about 1 billion Lings, Banes, a few Ravagers that are still alive, and lots of Ultras mixed in. Hasn't even noticed the Liberator in the top right. I think Clem still has a good enough army. He's got 3-3. If he can max out, he's going to have more army supply, but he's got to just be really careful about guarding himself with this. His army is so clumped right now. He likes to micro it in a big ball. I'd like to see his units pre-spread a little more so that he doesn't have to make sure he... Oh, there we go. Okay, Blinding Cloud coming in once again. Parasitic Bomb on the Libs as well. Won't be able to kill them, though. Nice lift on the Orbital. He's trying to pull back. There's not many tanks left. His tank count has been so diminished. Clem's trying to get the snipes off on these Ultras, trying to spread back first. The Ling Bane. Few of the Ultras do get popped there, and the tail end of the fight is always good for Clem, but it's losing the SCVs, losing the mining on this front base that is always so costly. Someone in chat was saying, I thought these rocks fell inwards, not to the side. There's 4 different cooling towers, guys. They're all connected. You break one of them, rocks will fall there, 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 and there. So there are 4 sets of rocks that will collapse if you break just a single cooling tower. Very cool, funky little mechanic in the middle of the map. Have seen it trap a few units before, almost trap a few armies in there. Banelings rolling into the Marines, nice move. Only 1 medevac here, so a little sloppy by Clem. I would like to see him keep working these drops, but he's just always getting scared back. The moment he gets defended somewhere, he pulls back. And if you want to attack and multitask, use small non-committed drops. That's got to be the way to do it. Clem's still marching forward, trying to control this high ground area, but creep is deep forward on the map, and now with 7 infestors on the way. That is going to be huge. A lot of infestors mean a lot of chances for fungal, and because Clem's infrastructure has been getting torn down, 1 or 2 good fungals sneaking in from Burrow could be big. What? He just accidentally A-clicked on his own SCVs. He just killed 20 workers. He wasn't even max, guys. He was only at 180 supply. He just accidentally, with his siege tanks, killed 20 workers that all just moved onto that mineral line. A massive mistake for Clem. Why in the hell? The Ling Bane Infestor coming forwards as well. Okay, he's got to just be careful. Clem's almost maxed. He could actually use that supply to max out with a bigger army. Mass Ling Bane coming forward. The Marauders are a little bit far to the back. The tanks are getting exposed up there. And the Ghost pulling back. The Libs trying to siege. Nice fungal dodge on the Ghosts. The tank sieging up in the backside. Can he hang onto this base? It looks like he should be able to. Clem holds his ground. Meanwhile, right side of the map, Ultra's coming in. Uh-oh. That Ultra in the mineral line. Notice how Dark moves them to the inside, so they're actually targeting the SCVs and even hitting them with the splash damage. Finally, the Ghosts get over there and do clean that up. And meanwhile, he's... What? What? He moved down the left side of the map at the same time. Why is he pushing the left side of the map? Clem, he cleaned up that push. He needed to defend while pushing with Ghosts on the right side to clean up the Ultras. He shoved his whole rest of his army forward, and I don't know what happened. It must have been Fungal landing on it, catching his whole army. His medevacs are getting hurt by Fungal as well. Bile landing all over those units. Oh, this is a very stressful match for Clem, and I feel like Dark here just has all the tools, all the plays he needs to absolutely destroy it. I will absolutely get into the game, check that replay very quickly to see what happened there with that army. Clem still trying to push, and at this point his economy is so wounded it kind of makes sense. Earlier I wasn't behind it, now I feel like, yeah, okay, maybe you catch Dark unable to remax. Of course, we can see the whole picture and know that Dark is beyond max right now. He's not even going to wait for the Ultras and Lings to pop. Well, okay, goes in, realizes he doesn't have the numbers, does pull back, 90 Swim in the main base, and oh, no, 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 no. Lings in the main base, that is a disaster. Even throwing up a second 90 Swim to help reinforce quicker. Lings all over that production. The Liberator will eventually clean it up. And meanwhile, on the other side, Clem does take out a base, but I don't think he can go any deeper on creep. His army is still... He's moving on creep with his tanks and libs. The Mad Lad... he scans, he sees the army, doesn't see all of it. One Ultra pops out and dies there, but Lings are ransacking his production right now. Running around, throwing Molotovs in his kitchen window and smashing and destroying. More units splitting to the left side, which seems good for Clem. But look at that. That command center couldn't land. Burrowed Zergling blocked it. Planetary on the right side going to get taken out by the Smoltralisks. SCVs pulling out of there. The main has been absolutely just cleared, essentially. And it's all about this one army on the left side of the map, cleaning up bases, the drones running around. But of course, Dark still has a base there, and a tiny bit of mining on the natural. And I don't think Clem cleaning these bases up compares in any way to the fact that his production is almost completely gone. He can only really long distance mine right now. I mean, that is a disaster. One Burrowed Zergling giving the middle finger to those drones, or those SCVs, I should say. Ultras, Smoltralisks running around, one Marine stuck there, and Clem is going to have to tap out. Dark with a dominating game, and Clem with some ridiculously overly aggressive play, pushing into the territory. Now we want to go back a little bit and just check what happened there on this left side of the map. So let me just find it. Oh yeah, this is it. Oh no, so he turns around. Yeah, he gets fungal. He gets double fungaled and hit by Ling Bane. The medevacs take a lot of damage as well, and a huge mistake there for Clem. And does take a lot of extra losses. Once again, he was obsessed with trying to push forwards here to really put pressure on Dark. But, I mean, he essentially should have just been turtling up. And I think Clem here, overly aggressive was the big problem, as well as never clearing these to put tanks behind the base. I actually think this base, it's okay to always be an orbital, so you can just lift it, and you can have tank, 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 tank. You can lift it, run the SCVs. And I also would have liked to see the Marauders on the front line with the Ghosts pre-spread just a little bit more. I know he likes to stutter step in a ball, but I do think pro gamers are a little bit too focused on keeping their units clumped up. And I think we do sometimes see the micro much better when they actually spread their units out and really embrace the turtle style that they're committing to. GG, well played though. Dark looked like a beast here. Absolutely destroyed.